Hello everyone, welcome to channel Qtomation. In today's lecture, we will see flow control and conditional statements in Python. So flow control is the order in which statements or blocks of code are executed at runtime based on certain condition. So in Python, flow control statements are conditional statements, transfer statements, and iterative statements. So these are three types of flow control statements. So in today's session, we will just focus on conditional statements. So conditional statements contains if else, if else, nested if else. So by using these keywords or these conditional statements, we can decide on which flow or the which code block should get executed during runtime. So that is the flow control system in Python. So flow control is the order in which statements or blocks of code are executed at runtime based on certain conditions. Now we will see practically one by one. So first we will just focus on conditional statements, which includes if else, if else, and nested if else. So now let's go to PyCharm and let's create new file. So I am creating new Python file. Let's name it as conditional statements demo.py. So we have created a conditional statements demo.py file. Now first we will see the if statement in Python. So what exactly if statement? So if statement. So let's say I am going to define one variable. So that is a equals to 10. And after that I am going to define one condition. For example, if a greater than 0, then I am using colon, and when you press enter, so we are basically now in if block. If you see this, there are some spaces here, right? So it is a Python indentation to define that we are currently inside if block. So if this condition matches, if a greater than 0, this is the condition. This will return either true or false. If this condition is true, then we will go inside this if block, right? So after pressing enter, it is cursor is indicating some spaces here, right? So we are currently in if block. So now here we can simply write the statement print a is greater than 10. We have to put this code a is greater than 10 inside print statement. So I'm just putting it inside print, right? So what we are doing here, so basically I have defined one variable a equals to 10. Now I am checking if a greater than 0, then this statement should get executed. So this is the condition and this is the if block. Now this part, if you can see, it is inside if block. Now what if, now when I press enter again, we are still inside if block only. But if I want to write the code out of if block, so I'm just going at the starting position and I will simply print here, print it is outside of if block. So this statement, it is not inside our if block. So whether condition matches or not matches, this statement is going to execute at any cost, right? So this is going to be executed every time whenever I execute the code. So now let's execute this program. So I'm just running this file. So when we run this file, if you see the output, it is saying that a is greater than 10 because this condition is true, because value of a is 10 and 10 is greater than 0. That's why it entered in the if block and it printed the statement that a is greater than 10. And similarly, after this statement, it is going to the next statement, which is outside of the if condition, right? So at any condition, this statement is going to execute at any time, right? So every time this is going to be executed. So print it is outside of if block. So this is outside of our if block. So this is, and let's say I'm going to put something that is not matching this condition. For example, let's say a equals to minus 10, right? So now if I put a equals to minus 10, then it will check whether if a is greater than 0. So is minus 10 greater than 0? No. So this condition is false. So that's why it will not enter in this if block and it will not print this statement, and it will print the statement which is outside of the if block, right? So let's execute this file. So I'm just simply again running this file. If you see, there is no output for this statement, right? Because a is not greater than 0, a is minus 10 here. That's why this statement is not executed. if you see, this statement is not printed, only this statement is printed because this condition is not matched and this is outside of the if block. So this statement is going to execute every time because it is outside of if block. So that is how we can simply use if condition. So if the condition matches, then it will print the this statement, or it will enter in the, it will simply execute this block of code which is mentioned in our if condition. And if this condition does not match, or if it returns false, then it will not enter in this if loop. So this is simply we can use if statement in Python. Now let's see how we can use if else, right? So I will just show you if else. So I'm just commenting this code, or I'm just simply removing this code. Now let's see the if else statement. If else statement in Python. So I'm again going to define one variable. Let's say x equals to 40. Now x value we have assigned as a 40. Now I am again going to use if statement. So if I am just putting one condition, if x greater than 50, then now inside if block. So if x is greater than 50, then we have to print it will print when condition is true. So if this condition matches, then we will enter in this block and this statement will be printed. But what if this condition does not match and we want to print out something? So in that case, we have to just come out of this if indentation. So for example, now I am just pressing and we are going at the starting point. So I am just putting else. So if this condition does not match, then what we have to print or what we have to execute? So else, again colon, and again I will just simply print. It will print when condition is false or when the condition will not match, right? So it will simply print when condition is false. Now value of x is 40. Is 40 greater than 50? No. So this condition will not match. So it will not print this statement. It will simply print the statement which we have mentioned in else block. So it should print this condition or this statement. Now let's run this file. So when we run this file, it is printing this statement, right? So it will print when condition is false because x value is 40, that is 40, and 40 is not greater than 50. That's why this condition becomes false. So it will just print, or it will just go to else statement and not in our if statement. So it will print when condition is false. This is the one way. And again, let's say I'm going to use, let's say 60, or let's say 60, yeah. So if x value is 60, so is 60 greater than 50? That value is true, right? So x value which is 60 is greater than 50. So this condition becomes true. So it will print when condition is true. So it will print this condition or this statement, and it will not print the statement which you have mentioned in else block. So let's execute. So it is printing. It will print when condition is true. That means we are inside the if condition, right? If block, because the condition is matching here, or condition becomes true here. Instead of condition, let's say what happens, I am just putting true value here. So just we can simply put true as well. So if I put value as true here, then let's execute this file. So if value is true, because condition we have directly mentioned it as a true. True is a boolean value. So we are mentioning that condition is true here directly. So in that case, it will simply print this block, right? Because it is condition is true. So it will print when condition is true. So that statement gets executed. Instead of true, let's say if I put false. So false is again boolean value. So if I put false, then it will go to else statement, right? So it will print when condition is false because it is entering into else block of code. This condition is false. So this is also one way. Similarly, instead of true and false, we can also mention 0 or 1 as well. So if I put 0, that is equivalent to false. So if it is 0, that means condition is false. So it will go to else statement, right? It will print else statement. So let's execute this file, right? So it is printing, it will print when condition is false. So that's why it is printing this statement. Instead of 0, if I put 1, so let's put 1. So it is equivalent to true, right? So let's execute this code. So when we run this code, it will print when condition is true. It is printing this part of our code block, because condition is true now if 1. So 1 is equivalent to true. So we can simply use true false, we can use conditions after if, or we can simply use 0 or 1 directly, right? So that is one thing. Now let's say how we can use multiple statements in if else. For example, let's say here I can print one more statement. For example, print this is statement 2. Similarly, I will add one more statement in first code block. So this is statement 3. Again, I will print one more line. Let's say this is statement 4. Similarly, in else block, I am also putting some statements here. This is statement 5. This is statement 6. And we will put one more line which is not part of if or else. I will simply use print this is outside of if else block. So this statement is outside of if else block. So at any condition or at any point or at every run, this is going to be executed. So it is not dependent on any of the conditions which you mentioned for if and else conditions, right? So this statement is going to execute every time whenever we run this code. So now let's put some condition here. We have defined x equals to 60. Now let's put condition. For example, I'm just putting, let's say if, let's say put simply 1. So if we put if equals to 1, if 1, that means this condition is true. So it should execute all this statement. Let's run this file. So when we are running this file, we can see the output here, right? So it will print when condition is true. So it is basically printing all this statement right here, right, up to 0.4. And after that, it is printing this statement which is outside of the if else block, right? It is not entering into our else block because the condition is 1. That is true. Condition is true. That's why it is printing these 4 statements. And after exiting the if else block, it is printing this statement, right? So this is how we can simply print multiple statements as well. Now if I put condition as 0, let's say if I put here 0 and let's execute this file, so it will print the statements which are mentioned in our else block, right? So it is printing this is condition is false, 5 and 6. These statements are executed, right? Because we are in else block now. Condition is 0, condition is false, and after that it will print last statement which is outside of our if else block. So this statement is also here. So this is how we can simply print multiple statement via if else statement or if else block. That check if the condition matches, then it will go into if block. If the condition fails, then it will go to else block. And the statements which are outside of the if else, those statements are going to be executed every time regardless of any conditions. Now let's say how we can use multiple statements in if else within a single line. So what I will do, I'm just removing this code and we are going to see multiple statement in if else in single line. So syntax wise, let's say I can simply use print hello if condition is true, else print welcome. So what we are doing here, so what this statement will do, so it will print hello, if the condition is true, else it will simply print welcome, right? It will print hello if the condition is true, else it will print welcome. Now let's execute this program. So when we run this program, it will print hello because this statement it will print hello. It is printing hello because we have mentioned that condition is true. That's why it is printing hello. And instead of true, if let's say I am putting here false, and let's execute this file one more time, so it will print welcome. So the else it will print welcome. So this statement is executed because we have mentioned false here. Similarly, instead of this, if I put 1 and let's execute this file, it will print hello because 1 is equivalent to true condition. If I put 0 here, again execute this file, it will print welcome because 0 is again equivalent to false condition. Or we can simply put, let's say a equals to 10, and if I put here if a greater than 20, so this is the condition. Now what this condition will return? So a value is 10, so this condition will return false, right? So let's run this program. So when we run this program, it is printing welcome because the condition is false, so this condition is returning false. Similarly, because a is 10 and a is not greater than 20, so this condition is false, so it is printing welcome. Similarly, if I put, let's say a equals to 30, now 30 is, or you can simply put a equals to 30, right? So here in this statement, now this condition is true now, right? So what it will print? It will print hello. So while using simple one line also we can use, or we can simply define our if else statements. Now let's say I'm going to use one more point here. So this was the single statement, but how to use multi-line statements in single line? So I can simply use comma, then print statement 3, and here I'm going to use one more statement. Again I have to use comma, then print statement 5. But when we have to just remember one thing. When there are more than one statements in single line, we have to use curly bracket here. So we have to simply use curly bracket. So we have to simply use curly bracket here. Right. So what it will do, it will check condition. For example, if this condition, so if this condition becomes true, if this condition becomes true, then it will print all this statement, right? So if these print statements will be printed, if this condition is true, else it will print these statements. Now let's execute this file. It is printing hello and statement 5. It is printing hello and statement 5 because this condition is true now. If a greater than 20 is true, that's why it is printing this part or these two statements. Now instead of, let's say a equals to 30, I am just mentioning int as 10. So is 10 greater than 20? No. So this condition becomes false. So it will print welcome and statement 3. So let's execute this file. Some error is there. So let's check this error. So we have to use comma here. Yeah. So let's run execute the file one more time. So when we execute this file, it is printing welcome and statement 3, right? Because this condition is false now. Instead of this, we can simply use 1 as well. So let's put 1. 1 means true. So if it is true, then it will print these two statements, hello and statement 5. If condition is false or 0, it will simply print welcome and statement 3. So this is how we can use multiple statement in if else within a single line as well. Right, so now we can see next part, that is if and elif conditions. So how we can use if and elif? So I'm just removing that code. We are going to see if elif. So if and elif are used when there are multiple conditions we have to check. For example, I'm going to show you one example. Let's say day, I'm defining one variable, let's say day equals to 20, and after that I'm using if day equals to 1 colon, we have to print Sunday. So if value of day is equal to 1, then we have to print Sunday. Similarly, next condition is elif. So I can check elif day equals to 2, again colon, then we want to print Monday. Again we can use, next condition is for 3, right? So I can simply use elif day equals to 3, again colon, then print Tuesday, right? So I'm just putting this value. So we can increase as per the conditions. So what we are doing, we are checking if value of day equals to 1, then it will print Sunday. If the value of day equals to 2, then we should print Monday. If the value of day variable is 3, then we have to print Tuesday. So now let's execute this program. Now let's say I gives the value of day as 1. So in that case, what will happen? It will check if value of day equals to 1. So it is matching here. So it will enter in this block and it will print Sunday. Let's execute this code. So it is printing Sunday. Now let's say if I put value of day equals to 2, what it will print? It will print Monday, because it will check for day equals to 1. No, so this condition does not match. So it will check for next condition, elif day equals to 2. So it will check whether day equals to 2. Again, day value is equal to 2. So it will print Monday. Similarly, let's say I put 5. Now this value is not mentioned anywhere, and we haven't mentioned any else condition as well. So what it will do? So it will give no output, because we haven't mentioned key what will happen if the condition does not match or no else statement is mentioned. That's why. So we have to put else statement. So if I put else statement here, else print invalid day entered. So when now I am invalid day, so we can simply print invalid day. Now let's execute this program again. So this time it will print invalid day. Why? Because first condition does not match, second condition does not match, third condition also did not match. So all these three condition fails. In that situation, it will go to else block, and else block is containing invalid day. So it will print invalid day. So this is how we can use if, elif and else for multiple conditions check. Now let's see the nested if else as well. So what is nested if else? So nested if else is nothing but multiple if else statement we can use inside each other depending on the conditions. So now I'm going to define one program. Let's say a, I'm just giving value as -10, a equals to -10. After that, what I am doing, I am just putting one if condition. If a greater than 0, then it will check. If a is greater than 0, then we should print a is positive number. If the value of a is greater than 0, then we should print a is positive number. After that, I'm just coming out of this if block and I'm putting one elif condition. Elif a equals to 0. What if a equals to 0? Then we should print a is 0. And if a is not greater than 0 and if a is not 0, then obviously else is print a is negative number. So I am just writing the program to check whether the value of a or value of number is greater than 0. That means it is a positive number. If it is equal to 0, then it should print a is 0. And if it is not greater than 0 and not 0, then obviously that is negative number. So it will print a is negative number. Now inside this, if I want to put one more condition to check whether value of a is greater than 20 or not, right? So I want to check whether value of a is greater than 20 or not. If the value of a is greater than 20, then it should print that a is greater than 20, else it should print a is less than 20. So that is again we are checking some more conditions. Now that conditions obviously we have to mention in inside first block, because if the value of a is greater than 0, right? If value of a is greater than 0, then we are printing a positive number. And if it is greater than 0, then only after that we can check whether that value is greater than 20 or not. So inside the first if block, I am just putting one more if condition. If a greater than 20, right? So first it will enter. So first it has to be a greater than 0. Then only we have to check that whether it is greater than 20 or not. If at the first condition only, if it is not greater than 0, then there is no use of checking whether it is greater than 20 or not, right? So that's why we are putting if condition inside the first if block. That is, if a is greater than 0, then we are again checking inside that if block if a greater than 20. And if a is greater than 20, then now we are again inside another if block. So if a is greater than 20, then what we have to do, we have to print a is greater than 20. And if it is not greater than 20, then we have to put else statement. So that else statement will come. I am just putting enter, and I am just putting else. Let's print a is less than 20. So this is an example of nested if else, because we already had one if else, elif and else block. Inside that, depending on condition, we are checking if the number is greater than 0, then it will enter in this block. And we are again checking if that specific number that is greater than 20 or not. If that is greater than 20, then it will print a is greater than 20. And else, if it is not greater than 20 but greater than 0, then it will print a is less than 20. So now let's execute this program. Now I am just putting the first value as 30. Now what it will do? So let's execute this program. So it will first print a is positive number, because now let's see, a is greater than 0. So 30 is greater than 0. So it will enter in this block and it will print a is positive number that it is printing here. After that, it will check another if condition. If value of a is greater than 20, so 30 is greater than 20. So this value is true. So it will print this statement as well, because the value of a, that is 30, is greater than 20 and this condition is true. So it will print a is greater than 20 here, and it will not enter in else block, right? And it will not enter elif also, and it will not enter in else also, right? So that's why it will print a is greater than 20, a is positive number, and it will exit the program. And now instead of 30, let's put value as a equals to 10. Now let's execute this file one more time. Right, so now what it will do, it will again check a is 10. So is 10 greater than 0? Yes, this condition matches. So it will print a is positive number. Then it will check again if a greater than 20. Is value of a greater than 20? No. So this condition is false now. So it will not enter in this statement, or it will not execute this part of code. So it will not print this. So instead of that, it will go to else condition and it will print a is less than 20, because we are inside the first if block. And again we are checking another if condition. If a greater than 20, then it should print this one. But if this condition does not match, then it will go to else block, right? So it will go to else block and it will print a is less than 20. And after that, it will exit the code, right? So this is how we can use nested if else. Again, let's say I am giving the value as, let's say, 0. So what it will do? Let's execute this program. So it will check the first if block. Is value of 0 greater than 0? No. So this condition will return false. This is not matching. So it will not enter in this part of code at all, right? So it will not execute, or it will not check following conditions. It will directly go to elif condition, right? So if a value equals to 0, again a value is 0. So this condition matches now. So it will print a is 0. So it will print a is 0 and it will exit the code, right? Now let's say I am putting some negative number. Now let's put a equals to -9. Now let's execute this file. So now it will check whether -9, that is a greater than 0. So no, this condition again become false. So again it will not enter in this part of the code. It will check elif condition now. Is a value equals to 0, but a value is -9. So it is not equal to 0. So this condition also fails, or this condition also false, right? So it will not enter in this part of code as well. So it will not print this statement. It will check for the else statement now. We have mentioned if both of these condition does not become true, then it should print else a is negative number. So that's why it is printing a is negative number for -9. So this is how we can use nested if else statement, depending on conditions, which part of conditions we want to check and which part of the code we have to execute. So that's about different type of conditional statements in Python. So let's revise one more time. So we have seen the conditional statements first for the flow control. If else. So first one is if condition. So if the condition is true, or if the condition matches, then it will print that specific part of the code and it will exit that code, and it will check whether there is any other code block which is outside of the if block, and that part will be executed. We have also seen if else statement. So if the condition matches, then it will print the code mentioning that specific if condition. Else if the condition is false, then it will execute the else part of the code. We can also use true and 0 1 as well. True is equivalent to 1, false is equivalent to 0. We have also seen multiple statements in if else. So if you want to simply print multiple statement in if else, so then we can use this type of code structure, right? So if the condition becomes true, then it will print all the statement mentioned in that code block, and if it is false, then it will print all the code mentioned in else block. Similarly, we have seen multiple statements as well, how we can execute multiple statements in within a single line as well. We have also seen if elif, right? If elif statement. If we want to check multiple conditions, then we can use if elif statements. We have also seen the nested if else as well. So if there are multiple conditions inside if block, then we can use multiple nested if else conditions as well. So that's about the conditional statements in Python. In the coming session, we will see another example of flow statement that are. In the coming session, we will simply see the transfer statements which are used for flow control, that is break, continue and pass, that we will see in next lecture. So thank you for watching this video.